Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be exploring something really fascinating. We're going to be looking at the world of AI and how it's becoming, well, more human-like than ever before.
That's right.
So our main source today is an article from Genbeta, and the title, it's a mouthful.
It is.
It's Acabamos de descubrir que a la IA le pasa como a los humanos. Para tener más ideas, necesita más tiempo.
Wow.
Yeah, which translates to, we just discovered that AI is like humans. It needs more time to have more ideas. So get ready for a fascinating insight. Just like us, AI needs time to think to produce its best work.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we always think about AI in terms of processing power, Like how fast can it go? How much data can it handle?
Right.
But this research suggests that there's a whole other dimension to AI that we maybe haven't been paying enough attention to.
It's like AI needs to pause and reflect. It's almost like it needs to take a coffee break,
Exactly.
So remember, like, just a couple of years ago when ChatGPT kind of burst onto the scene?
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, AI was like this accessible thing for everybody. And the pace of development just absolutely exploded.
That was a real turning point, wasn't it? Like after that, it was like, boom, GPT-4, Google's Gemini, all these incredibly powerful models just emerging one after the other.
Yeah.
And they're becoming so sophisticated. I mean, they can understand and generate all sorts of content, text, images, even audio. They call it multimodal now.
Multimodal.
Yeah, and the things they can do, I mean, if you know how to give them the right instructions, they can connect to the internet, pull information from different sources, and synthesize it in ways that, I mean, it really blows your mind.
Right. AI is everywhere these days. I mean, it's in our phones, it's in our cars, it's probably listening to us right now.
Probably.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This Genbeta article, it suggests that AI isn't just becoming more human-like in what it can do, but also in its limitations.
That's an interesting thought.
It's like, even with all its processing power, AI still bumps up against certain constraints, just like we do. It's almost as if there's a fundamental limit to how fast any intelligence, whether it's artificial or biological, can actually process information.
It really makes you think about how our own brains work. We rely on processing speed to understand what's happening around us, to react to things, to make decisions.
Right.
But we all know that rushing doesn't always lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes you need to step back, process information fully, look at it from different angles, let ideas develop.
Absolutely. And it seems like AI might benefit from a similar approach.
So instead of just trying to make AI faster and faster, maybe we need to make it more thoughtful.
Precisely. The research that they talk about in this Genbeta article suggests that giving these AI models more inference time, that's the time it takes for the model to process information and generate a response, can dramatically improve their performance.
So it's like pressing pause, letting the AI collect its thoughts before it answers. Exactly. And they're finding some pretty amazing results. So, for example, they talk about this model called Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking. It's specifically designed to dedicate time to reasoning, and its performance reflects that. They've essentially built in a think time component.
So they're actually designing AI to slow down and think.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. And the article also talks about some research comparing different versions of the Llama model, right?
Oh, right. The Llama model. Yeah, they looked at a couple versions, Llama 1B and Llama 8B. When we talk about these models, the B refers to billions of parameters, basically, the variables that the model uses to process information. So an 8B model is much, much larger than a 1B model.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating is that they found that the smaller model, the 1B model, actually outperformed the larger model, the 8B model, on certain tasks, particularly math problems, when they gave it more time to think.
Wait, so a smaller AI, like a smaller brain, can actually outperform a bigger one if it just takes its time?
That's what the research suggests. Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, but it highlights the importance of processing time, not just the sheer size or scale of the model. And it gets even more interesting with the example of Llama 3.23b.
Oh, tell me about this one.
This model, even though it's significantly smaller than another model, the Llama 3.170b Instruct, achieved better performance just by tweaking how long the calculations take. We're talking about a model 22 times smaller, delivering better results, just because it's given a little more time to process information.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so we've seen how AI has evolved at this incredible pace, becoming more powerful and more integrated into our lives. But now we're learning that processing time is absolutely crucial to how well it performs. But, what does all this mean for us? Why should we care about AI taking its time to think?
Well, that's a great question, and that's actually something we're going to delve into in part 2 of this deep dive. We'll be exploring the implications of this discovery for the future of AI development.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned. So where we left off was this idea that giving AI more time to think can actually lead to better results. And, this has some pretty big implications for how we develop AI in the future.
Right, like instead of just focusing on building bigger and bigger AI models, maybe we can actually get more bang for our buck, so to speak, by focusing on how efficiently they use that processing power.
Exactly. And think about what that could mean. Smaller, more affordable AI models could become much more powerful if we just optimize the way they process information. That could make AI a lot more accessible to, a wider range of users.
Right. That's a really interesting point. Making AI more accessible, that could be huge for smaller businesses, researchers, even just individuals who don't have access to massive computing resources.
Absolutely. It could really democratize access to these powerful tools. I mean, imagine AI-powered tools being used in classrooms and small businesses and, all sorts of community projects where, before they might not have had the resources to use that cutting-edge technology. We could see a real explosion of creativity and innovation.
Yeah, that's an exciting thought. But I also wonder, are there any potential downsides to this? I mean, could focusing on processing time, lead to a flood of low-quality AI tools?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. I mean, as with any powerful technology, there's always the risk of misuse or, just people creating things that aren't very good. But I actually think that focusing on processing time could encourage developers to think more carefully about quality over quantity. So instead of just trying to build the biggest model, they might focus on creating smaller, more specialized models that are really good at a specific task.
Right. It's like the difference between having a massive toolbox full of random tools and having, a smaller toolbox with just the right tools for the job.
Exactly. And think about what that could mean for you, the listener. Imagine AI assistants that respond more thoughtfully. Image recognition software that's more accurate, language models that generate more nuanced and creative text, all because we've given AI the time to really think things through.
It's almost like we're unlocking a whole new level of potential by just slowing things down a bit.
Right.
It really makes you wonder, if AI can benefit from taking its time, reflecting, and really thinking deeply, maybe we should be doing the same.
That's a really interesting point. I mean, we live in a world that's constantly pushing us to do more faster. And maybe, just maybe, we're missing out on something by always being in such a rush.
It's fascinating to think of the AI in its quest to become more human-like might actually be teaching us something about essential human qualities that we've kind of lost sight of.
It really is a fascinating paradox. By slowing down this race for bigger and faster AI, we might actually be accelerating the spread of its benefits and, rediscovering the power of really deep, thoughtful thinking in the process.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. We started off talking about AI's thought process, and now we're reflecting on what it means for us as humans.
It just goes to show you that the most interesting insights often come from exploring those places where different fields intersect.
Right. But before we wrap up, there's one more thought-provoking point from the article that I think we should touch on. It has to do with the implications of this whole time for thinking concept for the development of AI.
Oh, yeah, the potential for democratizing AI.
Exactly. What could this mean for accessing these incredibly powerful tools?
Well, that's something we're going to dive into in part 3. The possibilities are really quite exciting.
So we're back, and we've been talking about this idea that AI needs time to think. Actually needs time to process information to perform at its best. But in this last part, I really want to dive into something that's, well, frankly, pretty exciting. The potential for this discovery to make AI more accessible.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing when you think about it. We've been so focused on building bigger and more powerful AI models. But what if, by simply optimizing the way these models use processing time, we could make smaller, more affordable models just as capable?
I mean, that would completely change the game, especially for, people and organizations who don't have the resources to access these massive supercomputers.
Exactly. It could be a real game changer for startups, for researchers, for educators, artists.
Artists?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Imagine artists using AI tools to create completely new forms of art, or educators using AI to personalize learning for every student. And it wouldn't just be limited to people with, tons of money or technical expertise.
As you're talking about like democratizing AI, making it available to everyone.
Exactly. It's about leveling the playing field and empowering individuals to explore the potential of AI regardless of their background.
That's a powerful idea. So by slowing down this race for bigger and faster AI, we might actually be accelerating the spread of its benefits and making it more inclusive in the process.
It's a pretty remarkable paradox, isn't it? This deep dive has taken us on quite a journey. We started by exploring how AI thinks, and now we're talking about how it could shape the future of our society.
It's been a wild ride, but I think we're landing in a pretty hopeful place. The idea that AI needs time to think, well, it's not just a technical insight, it's a reminder that even in our increasingly fast-paced world, taking the time to slow down, reflect, and think deeply is incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. It's something we could all benefit from.
So next time you're feeling rushed, remember the AI that needs its think time and maybe give yourself permission to do the same. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds running, but maybe not too fast.